The gates to Yellowstone National Park are swinging wide open on Monday, but only in Wyoming. I'm John Shearer, and coming up, I'll explain why Montana is being left out.
The coronavirus can be especially hard for those dealing with mental health issues, but there are places they can go in Butte to get help.
Good morning once again. Just ahead of 6:30 on this Thursday. Chet Lehman, Caitlin Corbett, Matt Elwell with you here. A lovely start to our
it's
Thursday.
beautiful out there.
Thursdays are challenging, but Mother Nature keeps it pretty decent out there right now.
It's challenging for a few of us anyway.
Sure.
Temperatures overall not bad. It's chilly. You're going to want the light coats or heavy jacket. I don't know. Is there a difference?
Depends on how cold you get, yeah.
Temperatures into the 30s for most of us, a couple of 40s sneaking back in there. We've had some snow out toward West Yellowstone. Right now our skies are trying to clear. There's still a decent amount of cloud cover across the area, but our daytime temperatures topping out around the 60-degree mark. It's the late afternoon and evening that we start to see that moisture move in. Look for thicker clouds later in the day. Out toward Butte and those areas, we'll probably see a few spotty showers developing as you head into the early evening. We'll talk more about that. A look at your forecast, of course, coming up in just a few minutes.
That's perfect. So I'm going to schedule to mow my lawn around 7.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But for sure.
Darn. I had such high hopes of getting it done.
You know Lynn will make you do it
well,
either way.
What can I do? Weather's in the way. Nothing I can do about it. 6:30. How about we move on with news now? Bozeman High School seniors will actually have a graduation ceremony, and it's going to be at MSU's Bobcats Stadium.
Yeah, Superintendent Bob Connors says it was chosen over Van Winkle Stadium because of the size, better for social distancing. The ceremony will be June 7th at 2 o'clock. MSU President Waded Cruzado donated the use of the stadium for free.
In other news this morning, election officials say a recount now set in the extremely close vote on Townsend School District's elementary school bond proposal. School board held its final canvass of votes Tuesday night. The official vote count showed the bond was passed by just 3 votes. That is close enough that a recount can go forward if 10 voters sign a petition asking for one. That's just what happened yesterday. So the recount will be held Monday at noon at the Townsend Library. The $18.8 million bond would replace the existing elementary school, which leaders say is outdated and in poor condition.
Yellowstone National Park will reopen its gates next Monday, but only the gates that are in Wyoming. MTN's John Shearer explains why access to Yellowstone from Montana will still be off limits.
Montana's Yellowstone entrances account for 70% of all the traffic into the park, but they're staying closed because of Montana's 14-day quarantine.
We all have the same goals of getting the parks open.
Shawley predicts that Montana is not far behind Wyoming and says staggered opening dates could actually be beneficial.
Let's see what the impacts are to Cody and Jackson, and let's let that inform what kind of decisions that we make over the next couple weeks in regards to the gateways in Montana.
Monday's reopening will include no overnight stays, very limited services, and no help for Montana businesses.
The town is hurting badly.
Even though Clyde Seeley's hotel in West Yellowstone is mostly empty, he has supported the travel ban.
But we do have to go on living, so we need to learn how to adapt to the new normal.
You know, I understand keeping some of the hot spots closed, like the Old Faithful Inn and all that, but at the very least, let people access Yellowstone.
At the Bozeman Chamber of Commerce, Daryl Schlimm sees the clock ticking.
I think you're going to start to see that if we don't open up and look at what Wyoming and the rest of them are doing, is that it may be too late for us to rebound and recover if we don't get our gates open.
We still have some of the best months in front of us, and let's figure out how to safely and conservatively not put ourselves in a position where we're putting July, August, or September in jeopardy.
Shawley says he puts an enormous responsibility on the public.
There's no faster way for us to go backwards than the public not being responsible when they come here to visit.
Phase 2 of the reopening will see campgrounds, cabins, and more come online. But so far, there's no date for when that might happen. In Bozeman, John Shearer, MTN News.
And Governor Steve Bullock says the Montana entrances won't open until June 1st at the earliest. You can see all of the new rules for the opening of Yellowstone, along with maps showing which roads will open at our websites.
Also, state and local governments all over the nation have seen their budgets hammered by the COVID-19 pandemic. But Montana Governor Steve Bullock says the Big Sky State's finances may hold up quite well and that it's premature to start slashing government spending. TN's Mike Dennison picks up the story.
In recent days, Montana's Republican legislative leaders have asked whether state government should be cutting back in anticipation of a big drop-off in tax revenue. They say the 2021 legislature will certainly face a deficit because of the economic fallout of COVID-19, and now is the time to start paring back government. But Governor Bullock, a Democrat, said Wednesday that's not the answer.
Montana differs when it comes to our state budget from most other states. Our state finances were in a historically strong position heading into this pandemic. And because of that, we also believe we'll come out of this in a stronger financial position than most states.
Bullock and his budget officials said Montana will end the current fiscal year this June with almost $300 million in the bank and has another $150 million in reserve funds and a firefighting account. They say that strong starting point will help cushion any revenue drop-off and that they're keeping a tight lid on spending when they can. Yet Republican House Speaker Greg Hertz of Polson says he's guessing revenue could be $400 million to $500 million less than expected in the next year. And a new report by the financial service Moody's agrees. Hertz says if that's the case, why not make some cuts now so the full brunt won't be on the next legislature? Bullock said Wednesday it's too early to make that call and that it could cause more harm than good.
The notion that then what we should do is cuts based on what might happen 6 months from now or a year from now, I think it's probably misplaced for a number of reasons. One of which is adding to the unemployment rolls doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, or cutting services that Montanans rely upon doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense right now.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Now, Mike tells us the governor also says that budget analysis will have a much clearer picture of tax revenue coming up later this summer.
On a different note, dealing with a pandemic can take a toll on you and even on your mental health. MTN's John Amy has more on that.
The mental stress created by the coronavirus can put a strain on anyone.
I think it's a difficult time for all of us, and if you already have anxiety or depression or any other sort of emotional illness, then it's even worse.
The Southwest Montana Community Health Center in Butte has counselors on hand to help adults and children during these difficult times.
And we are reaching out and calling people when we can too, because one of the symptoms of depression and anxiety is that you lose your motivation, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to be around people. But the problem is that the less you do when you're depressed or anxious, the worse it gets.
The center sees patients in person and also over the internet to provide mental health services.
We also are working on trying to get some sort of group together by Zoom, which could be kind of a wellness group to just support each other.
Health officials recommend getting plenty of exercise, because staying active is a good way to deal with anxiety.
Exercise of any sort is helpful. Going for a walk. Changes in temperature are huge. If you're feeling hot, step outside. If your anxiety is rising, a lot of people get warm when they're anxious or their heart starts pounding hard. If you can get outside, go for a little walk. Sometimes that'll help reduce your symptoms.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
And anyone needing help can call the clinic at 723-4075.
Well, Special Olympics Montana announced on Facebook that its state summer games will be entirely virtual. That's in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Games will begin on May 18th and run through July 17th. There will be 4 two-week sessions and a 1-week break for July 4th. Each session is called a quarter. There will be new events released for each quarter, with the 3 levels of difficulty to account for varying ability levels. Instructions and video examples for the first quarter events are already posted on Special Olympics Montana website. Some of those events include the 10-yard dash and squats. Sports Vice President Jamie Wood says that a positive switching to virtual games this year is that more people will be able to actually participate.
we have a lot of teams that do attend our traditional state summer games, but for some it's just too far. It's too much to travel. It's too much stimulation for some of our athletes. This is an opportunity for them to maybe join in on a competition that normally they didn't. So we encourage everyone to get involved.
Opening ceremonies, by the way, will take place on Sunday, May 17th. Closing ceremonies will be on Wednesday, July 22nd. Both of those will be on Special Olympics Montana's Facebook and YouTube pages, so we'll still all be able to participate in that too.
That is so awesome. Finding a way to make it work despite everything going on.
It's so important for those folks. It's such a big thing to look forward to. They work so hard to get ready for it and all of that, and now they're going to be able to do the competition.
And even more people than normal are going to be able to join, which is even better.
There's no downside to that whatsoever.
Oh, I love to see that. 6:39, we're taking a quick break, but doctors have some new advice about protecting yourself from coronavirus, and it has to do with where you go and who you see. After the break, learn how to adjust your daily habits to stay safe. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on CBS This Morning.
Hey, good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, at least 14,000 coronavirus cases in the U.S. reportedly tied to meatpacking and poultry plants. You're going to hear from employees concerned their working conditions put them at risk. Also, meet 4 sisters who are all nurses fighting the coronavirus on the front lines, why they were inspired to help others. Plus, how Korean baseball could be a window into bringing back America's national pastime. And in our More Perfect Union series, see how the traditional art of letter writing is creating new bonds across generations. We'll see you at 7.